This morning I thought I would share a brief story that I heard recently, which fits in nicely with our theme of mission. The story originates from our own Greater Sydney Conference region, but involves mission outreach in the Solomon Islands. Twice a year, the Greater Sydney Conference hosts a dinner for retired pastors. And one of the speakers at one of the dinners, Pastor Alex Curry, who some of you may know, I can see some heads nodding, spoke about a particular ministry that he and other members of a group in Sydney are involved with. The purpose of the group's ministry is basically to source and or salvage all sorts of different materials or items of value depending on requirement or need, package them up and send them to different locations where they can be used for the benefit of recipients in mission projects, including to some of our own church entities in the South Pacific Division. On one particular occasion, the group were preparing and packing a shipping container of goods to go to one of our church missions in the Solomon Islands. As you can imagine, the group have numerous private and business contacts that they deal with here in Australia to help them with their work. And one of their contacts was able to provide a rather large quantity of brand new soccer socks to the group. The reason I say they were soccer socks is because they had the Asquith Soccer Club name printed on them. So that definitely makes them soccer socks. When the group received all of these soccer socks, they were a bit puzzled as to what to do with them. Was there any purpose to packing all these socks and sending them off to the Solomons? Would anyone use them? Or would it be better just to throw them out and free up some space in the container? The group prayed about it, and it was decided that the soccer socks were to be included in the next shipment. The container arrived in the Solomons and the contents given to a Seventh-day Adventist layperson by the name of Lancey to distribute. As an aside, Lancey had, over the course of a long period of time, attempted to engage with the chief of a particular village, as well as the villagers, in order to share his Seventh-day Adventist faith. But unfortunately, to date, he was not welcome in the village because he was an Adventist. Only a couple of days after the container had arrived, Lancey learned that the village had their own soccer team. Surprise, surprise. And in fact, they had 3 soccer teams. He also found out that there was a soccer tournament that had been organised between rival villages, which was to take place in the very near future. But in order to join the tournament, each soccer team had to provide their own soccer socks. I have a feeling that they all needed an entire soccer uniform, but that is how the story goes. Without the soccer socks, they could not join the tournament, and there was no way that the village could source soccer socks, either locally or internationally, for their 3 teams before the tournament commenced. As you can imagine, Lancey immediately saw an opportunity to provide resources for each of the local soccer teams in order for them to join the tournament, and that's exactly what he did. Up until that time, Lancey, our lay evangelist, was an outcast of the village. But because of his kind gesture of providing soccer socks to the villagers, he was treated in a very different manner from that point onwards. Fast forward, Lancey has now conducted a number of evangelistic missions in the village, and the chief has even marked a place for him where he can build a Seventh-day Adventist church. God is a provider. God will provide a means of building bridges that we as humans think is an insurmountable task. All we need to do is to be willing to be servants in his service and let God do what he does best, and that's bring people to himself. Some of the words of a song written and sung by Charity Gale sum up this thought quite nicely. I was a wretch, I remember who I was. I was lost, I was blind, I was running out of time. Sin separated, the breach was far too wide, but from the far side of the chasm, you held me in your sight. So you made a way across the great divide, left behind heaven's throne to build it here inside. There at the cross, you paid the debt I owe, broke my chains, freed my soul, and for the first time I had hope. Thank you, Jesus, for the blood applied. Thank you, Jesus, it has washed me white. Thank you, Jesus, it has saved my life, brought me from the darkness into glorious light. Beautiful words. Sometimes the task of conducting mission can seem overwhelming because all we see in our narrow vision are these deep chasms that seem far too wide to breach. But let us trust in Jesus Christ and in his leading. He is the ultimate bridge to people's hearts. So there you go. A little bit of kindness goes a long way, doesn't it?